Welcome back, everyone. Let's take a look at the newest character added to our roster, the Pilgrim Grave from the Old Tail unit. Grave is a fire unit. She uses assault rifle, pretty typical stat. She is a support character. Along with that, she is Pilgrim manufactured. Her kit is a little bit more complicated when you look at how it's described, but in reality, when you actually use her, it's pretty self-explanatory. Basically, what the skill 1 and skill 2, skill 3 add together, it makes her the fact that she will be reloading during off burst time, and during burst she will be up with a full stack of ammo 100% all the time. Basically shooting non-stop during burst, reload during non-burst. Okay, skill 1 basically increases your team's gauge field speed. It also recovers her own HP that she lost during burst, and also at the same time it increases the pierce damage of your team during off burst hours. Second is overheat. What this really do is just increase her damage during burst time, and that's pretty much it. Lastly, plus spoiler, this drains her HP a little bit, like in the story. It also increases pierce damage for herself and her teammate. It also increases the critical rate for herself to up to 100%, so it's pretty good. 82 plus 85.19 plus a 15 to default. This brings her to 100% critical rate. And it also increases the pierce damage and attack damage of her team as well. The biggest thing, the most interesting for her is actually the max ammo capacity +3 for 10 seconds as well. We will talk about that later. So what do we do for her skills? So first of all, you need to know is the fact that skill 1 increases the fill rate, right? But the too fast of fill rate doesn't really do anything if your teammates' cooldown is not there yet. So you just basically fill it as much as you can. And at the same time, the heat emission, same thing. It increases the pierce damage, but you need to remember that in this game, majority of the damage comes from burst time. So skill 1 only increases the burst damage during off burst time, right? So that actually decreases efficiency by quite a bit. So skill 1, you basically just increase as much as you need, and that's pretty much it. Skill 2, overheat. This one really just increases her basic damage level. It is actually very, very good if you want to use her as main DPS, because very rarely you have a burst 2 support that deals out 1.4, 1.35 damage of a normal Scarlet. So skill 2 definitely increase as much as it can, max it out if you can afford to. Skill 3, burst skill. This is her one of the biggest support. Make a really good support for Pierce team, because she increased the pierce damage of her allies and also attack damage as well. And attack damage bonus is not the same as attack, right? So this is actually one of the better ones to get. She also increased the maximum capacity of 3 for 10 seconds, which can be very, very useful on character with very low ammo count. I can talk about it later. The order I would say is you start with 4, 6, 7 initially, and eventually you work for 4, 7, 10. And lastly, when you can finally get everything wrapped up, I would say go for 6, 10, 10 or 9, 10, 10, however how much you want to afford. The first skill is not really worth it to get to level 10, but it is still a decent bonus for the rest of our team depending on the future of the piercing team. So what can we do with our team? So first of all, we need to recognize the fact that Grave is a fire support / DPS characters that boosts piercing damage. So she actually doesn't really work with Cinderella that well, because Cinderella does not do piercing damage herself at all. What you really need to do is putting her together with most of the time piercing characters that can also receive some kind of support, or having a third character that can help her Graves out as well. Most of the time though, you can use either Asuka, Alice, along with Red Hood as well, for the general piercing characters. At the same time, this team will also kind of works because Graves provide enough attack damage bonus for to really benefit Scarlet's Black Shadow. Alternatively though, you need to know the fact that if you are doing a pure fire team, Asuka is also really nice, and you can replace her, along with the fact that you can probably try to use Modernia as well. If you do not have Modernia, or if you want to try to maximize your Alice's damage, you can actually use Nor. The biggest, most interesting about this combo is the fact that all the character in this benefits Alice in some degrees, okay? You have Leader, of course, Buffer, she provides additional bullet. Grave provide 3 bullets. Alice Cup give fire type code boost, and lastly, Nor gives boost to everybody, but also increase a bullet for Alice. So what you're gonna get is a Alice with 28 to 29 bullets in one magazine once she reloads. And once it can hit, assuming you have 3 max ammo capacity overloads, okay? 3 high ranked ones, 60% and above. And when you reach the level, take away Resilience Cube, put in Bastions, because Bastion have a capacity, have the ability to increase the amount of bullets you have in the magazine. By math, it's about 0.42%. I like to do increase by 40% just as a safer rounded number. This means that your Alice can shoot about 39 to 40 shots in one burst rotation without ever having to reload. This increases her damage by a lot. If you use a comparison that's been playing in the background, Crown plus Naga actually technically is a higher damage boosting for most people, because Crown has a higher damage boost of about, I would say, 80 something percent to Alice, while Naga provides another like 40% with 50%. And at the same time, though, Grave herself increased Alice's damage by about 11 and 10%. Now you stack that up with having Asuka on the team, and then you stack it up with having, what's her name, with Nor, you can reach pretty high damage overall. Something I forgot to cover. Grave does not require any kind of ammo because, like I said, she will stop shooting during non-burst, and during burst, her skill will give her infinite bullet. So her overload gear, she does not require any ammo at all. She usually just requires elemental damage, 4 elemental damage to be more exact, and 4 attacks if you really want to max her out. If you want to push her damage even further, you can do 4 elemental damage, 4 attack, and as many critical damage as you can get. Do not need critical rate because critical rate over 100% does not give you any bonus in this game so far, from what I can tell. You just do attack, 4 elemental attack, and as many critical damage you can get. Okay, lastly, how I feel about Grave. She is basically a upper, higher, better replacement for Marie as of the current game standing. She is a very good damage dealer herself, and she also provides a very good amount of support for piercing type characters. She is not the best burst 2 in the game right now. That probably still goes to Crown for the time being in terms of providing survivability, general buff to everyone instead of just piercing characters, and also having a substitute side character that actually helps out your team's survival and at the same time boosting damage as well. But she does have her unique uses against fire type boss, against piercing advantage bosses, and also she will all be very, very useful to go with Asuka, Alice, and to some degrees Red Hood as well. So I do recommend you to strongly recommend you to get at least 1 copy of her. You will be use her for a very long foreseeable future during non-PvE content raids. During raids basically. And I would say she is probably not worth any duplicate for the time being. You will probably because we are going to get Christmas after this, so that is 2 more, probably most likely 2 more limited SSR that we are gonna try to get, because so far most Christmas characters are pretty decent. And lastly, there will be a New Year Pilgrim character that's gonna come out as well. So save your ticket, don't overspend, Get one copy of Grave and you will be a very, very happy user of her in the general raid, in most raids. All right, with that being said, thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next review.